was about time to have a new adventure to write about. This is a recount of a backpacking trip around the Olympic Peninsula. My interactions with Washington State were few and short. That first time involved a flight connection at SeaTac Airport on my way to Spokane to race Ironman Coeur d'Alene in 2015. Just a few hours there were enough for me to take in the impressive scenery through the airport windows. I raced Coeur d'Alene again in 2016, but decided to stay a couple of days in Seattle. It's 2021 and I'm back in Seattle after my friend Jeff invited me to join a bikePacking trip on gravel bikes around the Olympic Peninsula. It was going to be 4 of us: Jeff, Will, Elliot, and myself. Jeff is originally from Seattle, Will comes from the UK, and Elliot is from Ohio. We plan on completing over 400 miles in 4 days. This route included the 385 miles of the gravel circumnavigation of the Olympic Range Route, or GCOR. We started our journey from Harsing Island. We would intersect the GCOR route by Skokomish, 25 miles away. The route follows mostly gravel roads that are part of the Olympic National Forest, the Department of Natural Resources, and Washington State Forests. Not too far from Skokomish, we found our first gravel major climb, about a 3,000 feet uphill close to Chapel Peak. It became evident to me that Will and I would be pushing each other up the hills over the next few days. I couldn't help but admire the tall spruce and fir trees that line the roads, the mountains, and the rivers. I also got plenty of time to get to know the other guys and slowly realized that this group was made up of like-minded people, which was great. First day was to cover over 100 miles, but a flat and a little bit of miscoordination had us settle with a hundo, finishing by Lake Quinault. A beautiful sunset would mark the end of the first day. The second day started bright and early. We packed camp around 5 a.m., spun along the shore of Lake Quinault, and hit our second 3,000 feet climb with cool morning temperatures and the soft morning sun filtering through the trees. After a mostly downhill 15 miles, we had a quick break by the Quits River. Not far from there, the road would point up again for another 8 miles.
This amazing view!
Honestly, our ride was uneventful. Our stops were mostly to filter water out of rivers and creeks to refill our bottles. This area is remote and there are no gas stations, no stores, just nature. And nature in this part of the country has water with a bonus. It's cold. We found the chunkiest, biggest gravel of the whole trip on this descent close to the town of Forks. There just wasn't a clear, clean line to pick, but we made it through. If you're like me, you didn't know that Forks is where the Twilight series of movies and books are set, but it's also where Sully's Burgers is, and that made for a great and very needed lunch stop. It's day 3 and we were along the northern coast of the peninsula. We had pushed for some miles out of the next climb before we camped the night before, so once again, the day started with a climb. The view at the summit was spectacular. Also, we will be riding the Olympic Discovery Trail, or ODT, which is mostly paved and goes under the canopy of impressive trees. The morning light just amplified the scene. ODT goes by the northern shores of one of the most beautiful lakes I've seen. Surrounded by emerald-colored mountains, this body of deep glacial blue water is called Lake Crescent. We all wanted to jump into the clear blue waters and cool down. The trail was developed from an abandoned railroad track, so the grade is mild and there are a bunch of tunnels along the way. The route took us through over 20 miles of single track on the adventure section of the ODT. It was fun with rolling hills, switchbacks, and views of the Juan de Fuca Strait and Canada to the north. Even though it was good to add variety to the scenery, it made for a slow moving forward. After our lunch stop at Port Angeles, we rolled by the waterfront and decided to make a push for what would be our longest day. And the best decision we made. We spent about 17 hours on our bikes and ended up riding into the night.
Another heart attack, words that we can't take back. We are the reason opposites attract. Once you
slept about 4 hours before we woke up and started riding again. The countless excessive heat warnings were coming true. Forecasts called for temperatures over 100 degrees and we wanted to avoid riding in that heat as much as we could. This was our last day.
Make me lose my mind like all the time, it still feels right.
Heat was unavoidable. Temperature hovered over 100 degrees when we went by Lake Cushman, so no hesitation there. We jumped in the lake to cool down. We were 15 miles away from completing the G-Core route and 35 miles away from the end of this adventure.
Make me lose my mind like all the time, it still feels right.
110 outside, 55 here. Looking back, this was more than a new adventure under my belt. I got to spend quality time with an old friend, met 2 great people that I hope I get to share more adventures with in the future, but overall, this experience confirmed my love affair with the Pacific Northwest. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Pura vida.